Good morning. It's Monday morning and I'm a bit late. I've had a big weekend. I'm just going to see if I'm live on here. What do I look at? This one. I went to Sydney on the weekend and went to a party. So, and then went to the gym this morning. So I'm here. Would like to be in bed, but that's okay. So my question to you is, what does your heart desire? It's a big question, right? Because how do you know what your heart desires if your heart's been broken? If your heart is telling you stories from your past rather than your true, authentic nature. It's a big call. It's a big question, because when you're doing your best to follow your heart, but your heart has been crushed or damaged or hurt in any way, then what are you listening to? Are you listening to your heart, or you're listening to your trauma? And what actually is your heart sharing and saying and asking and choosing anyway? Because our pure heart that we were born with, and learning and creating and living in joy and peace and harmony and all of those wonderful things, and over again, with being here on the planet and doing, like, working out what it is that we truly want. Because when we're living here, I'm getting all these messages saying my internet is low, so hopefully it's all okay on this end. Let me see if I can find it. There I am, and all good. Hi to who's watching. For some reason my internet's playing up. I'm not sure why. Okay. So, yeah, how do you actually know what it is that you truly want? Because we have these layers over the top of us that in my opinion, or my understanding of the way life is, we come onto the planet with an idea of what we're going to explore and experience, and a general gist of how it's all going to be. And then on top of that, all these other things, conditions, programs, the way of the world starts infiltrating who we are, and doing in a way, taking us off our path in a way, because we start identifying with that damage, and with those challenges, and with those wait a minute, I'm not good enough to have joy, or have that pleasure, or have that excitement and adventure. Like, maybe I need to stay safe like the rest. Everyone's telling me, stay safe, stay safe. My whole world is saying, stay safe. Do as the status quo. And so that layers over and over on top of what our true heart desires, and what our true quest is to be here. And so when we're going, oh, well, I'm following my heart, and my heart's saying, you know, don't do this or don't do that, how do you know what that is? How do you know to actually listen to your heart if your heart um, has had damage or has had these layers of staying safe, right? And I had this experience on the weekend because, and I still haven't come to a conclusion. I'm still processing what it is that my heart was really saying or is really saying, because I chose one path instead of, I had two options on the weekend, and I chose one path, and there was consequences to that path, you know, like I'm going to go down this version of this weekend um, instead of this version. And what does that mean? And did I follow my heart and my gut feeling, or was I following my safety and my comfort? You know, there's, and how do you tell the difference? So I'm asking you, what is it that you, when you are um, following what your intuition's telling you, is it your intuition? And um, or is it a version of your mind that is putting that out there, that that this is what your intuition is? Because our mind is very tricky. Our mind tends to um, can sometimes pretend to be the imposter, you know, can pretend to be the intuition, or guides, or whatever it is that you think that you want to, you know, classify or label as your intuition. And so it's being able to strip that stuff out and go, you know, am I following the easy path? And the easy path is my subconscious conditioning and patterns that is telling me that it's safer to take this road rather than the other road, right? And so it's something that is a personal process. It's something that um, you know thyself is you know, something um, that we all are going through and learning and discovering. And I saw a meme today, this morning. I was scrolling after being at the gym and exhausted, and I was scrolling on Facebook as I, you know, just chilled out for a little while, and I saw this meme, and it said, "What's the meaning of life?" And it was saying the meaning of life, there is no meaning to life other than what we define it to be. We make the definition, and it's so true. We make the definition of what life means. So how are you defining your life and life out there in the world? And you know, is it a safe place at the moment? And are you plugging into the collective that's saying it's not a safe place? And what version of that are you listening to as well? Because those parts, when you come to that place of listening to your heart and understanding all of those, stripping all of that information down of not good enough, not worthy, insignificant, I don't belong, I'm not perfect, all of those silent instructions that we've been layered over the top and over the top and over the top, when we can strip all of that down and find what's in the purity of our heart, we will find that when we're really connected to our heart, which is our, you know, the heart coherence of oneness, and that intuitive nature that we actually innately can live by, right? When we can strip that down, we understand, we can feel that we are safe under any circumstances. We are safe when we can really connect in. Um, I had an experience, I don't know if I've even shared this on social media, um, maybe a month, or actually coming up to 2 months ago. I went for a swim at the beach, and I actually got caught in a rip, and it was it was pretty intense because it was before I was going to the gym, and so I was really unfit, and and it was only a small rip, and I actually didn't realize that that's what was happening. Just I'd taken my feet off the ground, off the sand, and was, in the waves still, and was just floating. And next thing, I turned around, and the land was a long way away compared to when I thought, from where I was. And I tried to get in, and I couldn't. And I started getting exhausted, and I was getting, you know, knocked around by the waves and dunked and all this sort of stuff. And I had this moment of, holy crap, I think I'm going to have to put my hand up. And I got to tell you, it's a pretty big moment when you realize that you're in danger, and um, that you need help, and that if you don't put your hand up, that something pretty bad is going to happen. And um, and so I had that moment, and so the moment that came, the next thought, and this is because I've been dedicated to my own spiritual growth for 25 years now, actually more than 25 years, but 25 years consistently learning more about my spiritual understanding and my heart, and stripping all of that, all those that stuff out of the way. I had this moment where I realized that I was trying to swim. I was using myself, my mind. I was trying to work out how to survive. And of course, that's a split second, right? And that I wasn't tuned in to my higher self, my intuition, connected to source energy. And so I connected in, and I called out for help. And I didn't remember at the time, but a friend was sharing with me afterwards, oh, if you get caught in a rip, you should swim horizontal. And when she said that, it was a couple of days later, I went, oh my God, that's what I remember doing. I was only a couple of hand arm movements, and I swam horizontal, just after I called out for help, like as in intuitively, like, hey God, spirit, source, I need you. And I didn't remember consciously, but I swam um, horizontal, and it was enough to get back in and just touch my feet on the sand. And it was a big thing. At 9:30 at night, I rolled over, and I had salt water come out of my nose. So I was close. And and for those that have been watching my personal page, only last week, and it still hits me, a 30-year-old, I think he was 35, lost his life, same spot, a rip, and 3.5 hours trying to find him. To no avail, of course, right? So he passed. So it was a big wake up call for me. I will always swim in the flags from now on, and I suggest that to everyone else. Um, but I listened to my heart in that moment, and my heart connected with the higher aspect of myself, my God-given connection. Um, and I'm saying, in other times though, when it's just day-to-day stuff, what part of, is the heart speaking that loudly? is the heart, and the intuition speaking that loudly with this clear, this is what you've got to do, right? Because we can get caught up in listening to the mind instead, and going with, well, this is safer, I'm going to do this. And so then making even excuses. Well, my guides said, who's heard that before? My guide said I should do this instead, or and that's what we call spiritual bypassing, is when you listen to your mind instead, or you make some sort of excuse up, and go with that as if it's not a decision that you've made yourself. So yeah, basically that's all I've got to say. It is a big topic because I don't want to. I have this tendency, where I am in my office. There's a beautiful tree. I'm upstairs in my house, and there's this beautiful tree outside with these beautiful pink flowers, and there's always bees in the flowers, and so I tend to be looking out at the flowers while I'm talking. So apologies for that. um, so they just get my attention. They're beautiful pink. I'll have to put a photo up so everyone can see them. So I'm not saying any of this to confuse anyone either, to go, holy crap, am I listening to my mind or am I listening to my heart? And if my heart's covered with all this crap and this trauma, is it accurate what I'm doing in my life? And I've got to say, one of the things that I have noticed personally is that if you're not on your path, you know it. All this stuff starts happening, right? And you feel out of alignment. You feel like life falls apart. I remember when I made a huge decision in my life. I was with a group that and it was the training I was doing with the past life regression, and I'd been with that particular teacher for 7 years, and I got to this point where it was time to leave, and so made the decision, and I started the process and started leaving that teacher and that group, and they didn't think that I should be leaving, and so there was a lot of conflict happening, and a lot of oh, you're doing the wrong thing, and blah blah blah, and I was following my heart. And I remember one of them ringing me up and saying, oh, how are you going, like almost like empathizing that I was making the wrong decision, and feeling sorry for me. And I said to this woman, look, you know as well as I do that if I'm doing the wrong thing, then my whole world is just about to fall apart, and I will know, because everything will go wrong, and everything's going to, bad things are going to start happening to me and all that sort of stuff. But if I'm doing the right thing, then my life is just going to keep flowing. And that was just exactly what happened. So I literally got off the phone to that woman, and my husband came down the driveway. He was expecting a really important letter, and he'd been waiting for months. And he came down the driveway with a letter in his hand, and so we sat down on the lounge, and we had the doors open, the big sliding doors open, and we sat down, and he got confirmation that that everything was okay, and that like the letter was a positive letter. And as we were reading the letter, a Ulysses butterfly, because I lived up in Cairns. Actually, I was living in Youngerborough, which is Atherton Tablelands, and a Ulysses butterfly came into the house, never had before, and flew around us and then went back out. And half an hour later, someone knocks on my door, and it's the husband of a woman that I hadn't even met yet. Salon to see if I wanted to rent out their room to do my massages in, because I just basically left that other group, and it just went flow, 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 right? So when you're in your heart space, you know it. Your life, your not only does your life flow, but when you are really following your heart and you know, going the hard yards, because sometimes that's uncomfortable. It's making those decisions of saying, yep, it's time for me to leave that group, or yep, it's time for me to follow that direction, even though that's a rockier road. You know, it's the road less traveled, as they say. And when you make that conviction and you start sharing that with your subconscious, because the subconscious says yes to everything. Everything that you tell it, it says yes to. When you know, at one stage when you were younger and you went, oh, we're not good enough a lot, okay, so then it becomes a pattern. So when you want to change that in your life, it's constantly having to say, well, actually I am. I just went to the gym and we had one of the exercises was the big ropes. They're really thick ropes for anyone that hasn't been to the gym. They're big and they're heavy, and they've got plastic on either side and you've basically got to go like this, hold your core, squat, and you're going like this and you know, making these ropes go really fast. And they're bloody intense, right? And so I'm doing that, and I stopped looking at the wall, and I put a point on the carpet, and I just started saying to myself, yes, 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 and I just kept doing it, right? Because I'm conditioning my subconscious to believe that I can. So when you are conditioning your subconscious to believe that you can do something, because the subconscious will start eventually going, oh, she's serious about this. Okay, yeah, okay, yes, yes, yes. And it starts changing those patterns. When you do that, you start aligning with your higher self, with your intuition, that already knows that you can do it and is already there for the experience, right? And so that alignment moves into this flow, this current of universal life, like this divine connection. And so you just start getting dropped down. Ah, she's ready for this, she's ready for this, she's ready for this, and start opening up to a whole new world of what you're really here, your true nature, and what your purpose is here, is to experience joy and experience love and and experience you know, divine union, and to experience the best version of yourself here on the planet. And so when you can really truly step into that yes, and start opening up to that, more of that floods into your world, and it's a beautiful experience to flow down that river of life, and have, you know, for those that are that, you know, they've put into place, they think it's the car park angels. You know, it's actually you just making that decision in your head, I'm going to get a car park, right? So those people that are that get car parks all the time, move into the next thing. One of the things that I have said yes to in my life for at least 15 of the 25 years, everything always works out for me. And it's such a repetitive, like, I don't even say it anymore. I just know everything always works out for me. And because that's something that I've implanted into my subconscious, then it does. Even when things like I have a brain tumor, right, and I've got to get it removed, it's such an amazing flow and experience, and I go through the thing with all these little coincidences, because that's the definition I've created for my life. I've defined that I have specific, the names. The last nurse on my ward, her first name was Angel. I even asked her. It wasn't Angelique. It wasn't Angel. Angela. It was Angel. That was her name. And the first woman I opened my eyes up to, her name was Crystal. Like, that's the way my particular flavor of universal experience is, because that's what I've created and defined at a certain point. I've had cars, houses, and those sort of things always been defined in those ways, until they don't. And just recently, this is one of them. The house that I'm in now has no definition. It's just it just came to me the way it did, right? So when I realized that was even a limitation, that it has to have a certain name or whatever, that was a definition that was limiting my range of experience, then I've shifted it. So, be aware of what it is that you're defining in your life. What is it your heart's really telling you? Are you listening? Repattern and recondition um, your subconscious by changing your mind about things, and start living in that flow, right? If you find that you have things go wrong in your life, that you have a series of constant things going wrong, then maybe it's time to look at what is it that you're not looking at. What is your heart really desiring? What scares you about that? Why are you not moving and following through on that? And reach out and get some help. And you know, you can always come and check in with me. But if there's something else, someone else that resonates, just reach out and get some help, because these days we really all need mentoring and coaching and support from others to really see what our blind side is. So that's me. I didn't think I'd go for half an hour today. I thought it was going to be a short, sharp and sweet one, but it wasn't. I could just talk forever. Much love to everyone for watching. Thank you, and I really, really appreciate. I hope that you got some sort of value out of that. And I do these for you to take a moment to pause and reflect on what is it that that's happening in your life, and is there something that you could change to move closer to living the life you love. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. Love to everyone.